designated slot where you could talk about our needs. When this tragedy happened, tell me about your response. Tell me what your first impulse was, and then what you went on to do.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to lead into the question that you have asked. But I feel more tense this evening and upset than when I went to the bedside of Mrs. Ruddock to interview her before the police arrived. As I walked into the room, Mr. Collins is in the corner, and this film comes on, and I'm there with Victor Romeo in a few seconds, and I'm going through the whole pain again. So for those of you who have been through it, heard of it, maybe never heard of it, God, you could imagine what was going on at that time. And I'm going to lead into your question. You've seen the visible. I was dealing with the opposite media. I was in the belly of the beast. I mean, I was at the graveside. There was nowhere in this entire trip of sadness and badness that I didn't take part in. And when you have to collect information and walk back into the belly of the beast to put it over, you're in dangerous grounds. And I wish people would really understand the chances we were taking, the chances we took. I have visible memories, lots recorded, that would frighten some of you of today. And I'm just going to walk straight into a few of them to paint another few pictures added to the paper, to the film, and what Professor Gus has had to say to bring it back to you why it is great to have an event like this 30 years after. Because you're right, Professor Gus John, to say we are too comfortable. We're really too comfortable. Maybe too privileged in various cases, you know? Because we had to stand up for ourselves. What it did was to bridge the elder community that was arguing with the younger community about you all doing this and that. We forgot about age, man. It was Qatar's time. I'm telling you something. It was. If ever, I can remember Bishop Wood. A bishop, you know, but he black. And on the graveside, I watched Bishop Wood shake his head, grind his teeth, and he said, I feel like I could fight today. That's a lot for a bishop to tell you, that he feel that he could fight today. I remember Mr. Collins. Let me start from Miss Ruddock on the bed. Take your time. Right? I got this telephone call from Arif Ali. That time it was the Caribbean Times, West Indian World. Alex, did you hear what happened? I immediately woke up, called John LaRose on the phone, and John called Darkus, called Gus, jumped in a little black Morris car, Morris Minor, and off we went to Mrs. Phoenix's house. We got there, and there on a bed is lying this lady, and I'm thinking of, let me get this interview quick, because what the media is already spitting out is so opposite to what happened. I know the way I will get it, and if I got it quick, because they didn't have it yet, once I got it canned, they could tell what lies they want to tell. I got it in my hand. And I said, she's sleeping, don't wake her up. And she got up, she said, no, I'm not sleeping. And I recorded a half-an-hour interview with this lady. And it went from black Londoners to the international world, right across. When you talk about, when one speaks about the power We had less yesterday in the media. You have more today, and yet we have less. Isn't it amazing? We've got less. You understand? It is, if you want to feel the pain of the many things I have kept, and I have kept a lot, I dare not play tapes like Mrs. Ruddock. It would upset me. My wife and the children could not take it because you live it again. It's painful. I think I could go on beyond the day.
Alex, you speak of going into the belly of the beast. How did that belly react when you played those recordings?
I didn't even care about how the belly reacted. That was my way of doing it.
It griped them?
I have to tell you, if ever there was a gripe, they felt it. You know why? Because the news came on just before me when I came on air. And the news would be telling lies they got from the police and the rest of. We had some blacks who put out wrong news too. Or who felt that they should go that way, possibly not understanding the maneuvers of the system. And every time they came, I hit them back. I was downstairs in the basement at that time. But there is one thing about water, you don't block it. You don't know where it would leak. And with a radio program in your hand, it's not about you, it's about the contents of what you put out, how you put it out, and when you put it out. That is what people have to understand. They did not like it. I remember hearing one saying, well, what he's putting out there is nonsense. I didn't respond because I knew it went out. What we have to work out in the media is the power of what the little we had at that time, how it worked. And it didn't just work for New Cross. New Cross was the Flint. It worked right through the Flint, where they had the mass media. People were cassetting my program and sending it worldwide. So whatever lies the others were putting out, although I was going through the same wavelength, it wasn't getting the same reaction. In short, that's how it was like.
My final question before we end this section, Alex, would be looking at an event like the march today, how do you think it would be covered in the media right here and now? How different would it be covered, or is the beast still the same?
I'll start from the way you ended. The beast is still the same. And we have blacks inside the beast who is assisting the beast to remain the same. We have, you know, if I were like some of them, I would be in there or driving a Rolls Royce or having champagne sitting in a hotel somewhere. I have a conviction to myself. You understand? I think on the media side, let me give it the one piece of praise here coming from what they assisted us to do. I set out immediately to set up a fire fund to assist the family. And the money we raised was 21,000, beyond the 19,000, 21,000. Let me congratulate BBC Radio London in saying, when I approached them, they agreed to do a 24-hour marathon. Never before had local radio joined together across the country. So I am going to put this in history. Whatever links that was made to put radio like that in linking it was made because of the New Crossfire and Black Londoners. That's a historical something I would not let get away. How would they have covered it today? Some of our brothers and sisters have mastered the English language. And therefore, the language I would use and the way I would want to put it over is the way you want it. The way we speak, the way we relate. Because the program had a context, Black Londoners. It was a program designed for the black community. And therefore, what I had to carry was what the program says. Brother, brother, let's get together, get with it, and stay on the beat. Black Londoners. And in everything I did, or the program was responsible for, that's what it is. The white media have trained some of our black people today to be first broadcasters, second black. And that's the danger that we are facing, all right? Rather than saying, I want to be a journalist to balance what is gone wrong. How can one little program take on a system? It did. That's right. And who said now, all these programs like the rap programs, and I welcome them, the pirates, they can do better. They can mold something together and therefore change what is happening. We need a new form of thinking that will be a media to counter the white media that the blacks are helping to make more white. I think this is what did the DG of the BBC say? He says, when you say race, he says it's whiter than white.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Menelik. Before we close this session, and I think it's been a wonderful discussion, because it is in this, I don't know, in the rubbing of these words that we remember. It's in the rubbing of these vibes that we pull back the spirits of those who were taken before us and give celebration to their lives. But before we end this section, I believe there's a member of the audience who would like to say a few things. Mr. Collins, thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gents, of course, 30 years ago, you know, I were at Dalston because my business, my club in Dalston was the Four Aces. You understand me?